Hey, hey, it's Dr. LaJoyce Brookshire. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. It's not Wednesday, though. Welcome to Ask the Good Doctor. This is a critical alert. I am here to help you attain, maintain, and reclaim your perfect health. I'm Dr. LaJoyce Brookshire. Come on in, come on in, come on in. We had to have a little talk as family today. And I brought my sister with me, who is going to share some insights with us. It's been a rough week or so, and I wasn't going to say anything, quite honestly, but the questions have kept coming, and I could no longer ignore your questions, your comments, and your concerns. So here we are today with some soul solutions for election reflections. And I'd like to introduce to you my sister, friend to the show, our expert who helps to always give you encouragement on how to attain perfect health for this mind of ours, this body of ours, and our spirit. I'd like to introduce to you Nature. Welcome,
Hi.
darling.
Hi, sweetness. I'm so happy to be back. So happy.
Listen, I am so happy to see you, to be in community with you, because this is what I believe we all need right now. And a lot of people we need to acknowledge are hurting and
Mhm.
are upset over election results. And let me talk about myself first.
Please. Yes,
Okay,
yes,
let me
yes.
do that. I felt a little salty. I'm going to stand with women. I have a heartbeat for women.
Okay.
I wanted the woman to win,
Okay.
period. I wanted the woman to win. I voted for Hillary last time. I voted
Mhm.
for Kamala last time because I want to see a woman lead this nation. I do. All the men have had their turn. Let's get a woman in there, okay?
Absolutely.
I don't care
Absolutely.
who they're running against. I want the woman to win, quite honestly.
Absolutely.
So when it didn't happen this time, I had to sulk my way. I put my pajamas on nice and early, chose not to listen to election results, and I had to teach a very early class. So I had to leave home at dark 30 in order to get there. So I had to go to bed early. I didn't hear election results until I was crossing the good old George Washington Bridge in New York City.
Mhm.
And that's when I heard. I didn't drive off the road. I just thought, wow, okay, here we go.
Mhm.
And I came home, put on my pajamas very early, made a sumptuous dinner for my husband. I fried whiting. We love fried fish.
Yeah.
And so I made that. And then I had a bowl of homemade coconut ice cream with
Ooh.
some decadent chocolate in it and crushed nuts. And I poured myself a really, really large glass of champagne because I wanted to celebrate the women who did win their races.
Mm. Mhm.
And then I just sat on the couch and watched things I had recorded on television. I was sulking. I wanted to take every feel. I wanted to wipe away or let flow and then wipe away every tear.
Mm.
And I wanted to give myself permission to do that. I intentionally avoided the news cycle. I intentionally avoided looking at scrolling on social media. I did that to protect myself.
Mhm.
And I wanted to protect my eye gates and my heart and my ear gates. That's what I did for myself. And I wrote and I posted my dessert plate and my champagne.
Oh, did you?
I did. And I said, today I sulk and I give myself
Mhm.
48 hours.
Mhm.
Next, I strategize. And that's what I did for myself. And the next morning, Nature, it didn't take 48 hours. It only took a day.
Mm.
And I want to talk to you about that, for giving yourself permission to sit in a thing, swallow, digest it, and move on. That's why I want you here today, because I want to address the people who can't move on,
Right. Right.
who can't wrap their heads around the
Mhm.
next thing. I want to talk to them specifically. And I want
Okay.
you to drop your questions in the chat, and we'll see them and we'll address them.
Okay. Well, thank you for just sharing about your experience. I appreciate the transparency. And you know, as many times as we've been here and talking about things like grief, I am already aware that we hold similar values about around the importance of grieving and giving ourselves
Mhm,
permission.
mhm.
Um, and I think, LaJoyce, what was really made clear to me this time around is that not only do we have the responsibility and hopefully the grace shown to ourselves to be able to grieve, but to also be able to define for ourselves, what does strategizing now look like?
Mm,
And when does it even need to occur? Because
mhm.
I think it would be disingenuous to not acknowledge we are exhausted. I saw so many memes of women of color, particularly Black women,
Mhm.
putting the superwoman cape up on the rack and being
Yes.
done with it. And I think that means this mourning period probably will look different than
Mhm,
Hillary and any other time that we've had our heartstrings connected to an election because we thought
mhm.
that this was our time and opportunity for all the work, all the mobilizing, all the strategizing to be able to fully manifest, and we see it executed.
Yes.
And when we had to contend with those numbers, like you said, whether it was the next morning, the next afternoon, but when you started to see the breakdown of
Ah,
who voted and how they voted, for me personally, it was another slap in the face,
ah,
right? So now we're not just talking about grief, the natural response to loss, because the person we wanted lost, but we're also talking about anger
yes.
and rage. And how does that complicate the grieving process?
Yes.
And what does it look like to give ourselves permission to have the rage, to have the gut wrenching disappointment
Yes.
that other people did not show up and stand
Mm.
for us and support us in the ways in which we are always called to uplift and support others. So I think it's like a knockout.
Ah,
No, we know it doesn't matter if you get knocked out or how many times. It's just about getting back up.
yes.
But sometimes, you wobbly on those knees in
Yes.
your getting back up. And I believe we're still in the wobbly phase. And I
Ah,
think speaking to those particular listeners that you're wanting to address, I would say this is a time of handing out permission slips.
oh, come on.
However wobbly you are feeling, lean into the wobbly. And I believe
Yes.
we must trust that time, as is always the case with any kind of grief, will provide the pathway forward. And I think each person has to understand it gets to be unique.
Hmm.
You didn't take 48 hours. And that's how it looked for you. And you have the self-awareness to even understand, oh, I'm sort of moving from the momentum of this, and now
Yeah.
I'm over here.
Mhm.
Um, for those where that has not even quite yet happened, that's
Mhm.
okay
It
too.
is.
It's okay, right?
I want I'm so glad you addressed so many things. We are grieving. I did grieve.
Mhm.
And grieving looks differently for everyone. I think what a lot of people are grappling with is this enormous sense of a lost hope.
Yes.
And I heard the pastor from Alfred Street Baptist Church he said, when hope dies, you want to give up on life and live for me, myself, and I. When hope dies, you give up on the goodness of others. When hope dies, you begin researching how to become a resident of another country. When hope dies, anger and fear set in. When hope dies, you begin to tell yourself, I'll never vote again, because what does it matter? The death of hope is damaging and destructive and traumatizing and paralyzing. How true is that?
Profound.
Profound. And I will say what I know is hope deferred makes the heart sick. And I want to tell you and everyone listening that we can't let this make us sick. When the heart is sick because of something that we've hoped for and longed for doesn't occur, when the dream doesn't yet manifest, a delay is not a denial. It's not forever. It's just today or for 4 years, but it's not forever. So what I say is delays are not denials. And if we let a thing extraneous affect us to the point where we get sick, and we get sick by not swallowing, digesting, and moving on. Physically, that sets up in the body an anatomical and physical response, which causes autoimmune diseases. Be so
Preach.
careful. We've got to be so careful.
So careful.
I want us to be more careful. Tell us how to do that, Nature.
Well, I just love that you broke that down for us. I mean, that's what I just find so extraordinary about your brilliance is this capacity to sort of distill these really big medical ideas into things that are accessible for us. Because I think we've not been taught how our emotional state does impact our physical health, our overall well-being. I love that you shared the quote on hope, because it indeed can make us sick. And I think that so many people are walking around with lost dreams, deferred dreams, a sense of having given up hope, and just not feeling motivated for anything.
Yes.
And then all kinds of seemingly unrelated autoimmune and other kinds of physical things show up. And it's difficult then to sort of get out of that loop. So I appreciate your cautioning us to be really careful. The question is, you said, and it happens from not digesting. So I guess the tool to speak to is, how do we metabolize or digest the things that are so disappointing, that have not gone the way we so profoundly hoped? And I think that calls into play radical acceptance. And radical acceptance period can be challenging for people, because they're like, what they believe that accepting something means that you agree with the thing.
Yes.
And that's not the case. I say to clients all the time, will the sun rise tomorrow morning? Yes. And whether you like that or not, that is simply a reality. So if you want to engage and spend energy on being upset because you don't like the sun rising. You're disempowering yourself because that is a reality that you alone can do nothing to fundamentally change.
Yes.
And that's where we are. And might I add, I think that's where we are gracefully, because we've not taken to action as has been demonstrated in the past when people did not want to accept results in what was put in front of them. So here we are being challenged with, how do I make sense of this? And honestly, I think, and I know this is a challenging thing to believe, but I think grief is the teacher. You know, if you don't run from it, if you don't set up the belief, oh my gosh, I'm just simply not strong enough to endure this. This is just so heartbreaking. It's going to take me out. If you instead befriend the grief, hi, I see you're here this morning.
Yeah.
What is this about? Is there anything here that I can extract that is a powerful learning or teaching for myself? Because I choose to be in communion with the grief in that way. You're not just here to make my life miserable, but that you have some gift for me. And I'm going to figure out what that is. And that, I believe, is what offers the guidance to not only how you digest it, but how we are each differently tasked with what to do with that once we've digested it, you know? And that digesting can be, I'm just trying to think of this, and I know you'll have something to say, but you know, it's almost literally like food, right? If you are just
100%.
rushing to eat your food, you know what I mean? Or you're in a space where you're not enjoying it, there's all kind of things that disrupt what would be the upcoming digestion process, right?
That's
so
for
the more you can be present for your meal, and what you are eating and understanding the nourishment is going to provide, you're making a holistic relationship to eating, digesting, releasing. But if you don't bring that kind of presence to it, then most likely you're going to run into people who have all of the chronic digestion issues. It's no different emotionally, right?
Absolutely.
So if you don't want to be present with whatever the emotional devastation is, then it sets off the same chain of things, right?
100%. So well stated. Then what I chose to do was to give myself grace to feel the thing. I want to encourage everyone else to give themselves grace. I also chose to satiate myself with a good meal. And it wasn't stress eating. It was feel good eating. Okay. And because I don't stress eat, I don't eat when I'm stressed. But I needed comfort. And I understand that term, comfort food, more than ever when faced with something traumatic.
Absolutely.
And I then reached out to 3 of my dear sister friends. I had 4 tickets to the theater, and I felt the need to be in community with my sisters. And we went to the theater together. And that was beautiful. And then the night before the theater, I had dinner with 2 doctor friends, sister friends, and just being in community. And here's the thing, this kind of grief or trauma can force some to isolate.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
And this is not the time for that, you all. Nature speak to the importance of being in community, maintaining the village now more than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for me, it's just simple mathematics. We need to be in community, not just because studies have shown over and over and over that we are interdependent. But the reality is we need people to pour into us, right? So it's just a calculation. If you are not allowing yourself to be exposed to other people and to be in communion with them, that begs the question, what is restoring you? What's being poured into you? So that's one of the key things I think we initially get from community. Sometimes it's different perspectives. It's a way to say something that you've already heard, but it's just the particular way that they say it, that it touches your spirit in a certain way.
There is a real study that was conducted by Johns Hopkins University, led by Dr. Stephen Boykin, and he stated that 100% of the time, people will perish in isolation.
Isn't it? I'm so glad. I actually had done a previous article for WNYC about this, and I saw that study. I saw there was an AARP study.
Yes.
There's a Harvard study that's been going on for, I think, over 60 years, and they all affirm that to be out of community means negative consequences on our health,
absolutely,
longevity, mortality, 100% of the time, right?
Absolutely.
And so I think that for introverts, right, like myself, because right, and I think people probably mistake both of us as extroverts, but I think the messaging has to hit even further home for introverts, because we know that we do recharge alone, not in the space of other people.
Yes.
But it's a difference between understanding, I don't need to social network to recharge. I can do that at home, versus when we are in mourning, when we have been wounded. I mean, for instance, if you cut or break your arm, you're not going to try to heal that on your own. You're going to go right to a hospital. And you're going to be in communion. We may not think of it, but you are in communion with the doctor who's attending to you, with the nurses who are changing shifts. And I just think if we can continue to lift up how important mental health is, that it's a real thing, it's not just physical health, then I think we have an easier time of understanding why it's important to be in community.
The mental health part is what's concerning me, that it continues for longer without any solutions. And what I'm hearing from a lot of people is that they're anxious about the uncertainty. I get it. How do we, not understanding what's coming ahead because of things that have been stated of what's coming ahead, and that uncertainty leading to this anxiousness, how do we put that to sleep?
I'm so glad you zeroed in on that. I think what is key for the anxiety and everything else associated with this loss is the importance of centering our nervous system. And this is more important than it's ever been, because, anxiety is certainly the response of, the anxiety is a result of the uncertainty of not knowing what's to come. And this is where I believe all of the practices that uphold presence and mindfulness can become very key. Because when we anticipate too much of the future, that is the full recipe for overwhelm and anxiety. So I think I would recommend create mantras for yourself, touch points for yourself, so that every morning when you wake up, but perhaps several more times a day, that how do I keep myself centered today?
That's right.
Or I am worthy of peace. And then being able to identify what things provide peace. And as you have so wonderfully reflected, what things provide comfort. You knew a few key things: the theater, the amazing meal, dinner. So you already put into place a few things that could help you stay centered, stay present, because the more that we can do that, the more we can leave tomorrow to take care of itself.
So,
and we know scripture even that
listen,
supports that.
I'm telling you, every holy book speaks of it.
Everyone.
Every holy book speaks of leaving the worry and let tomorrow take care of itself. How could you possibly be worried about tomorrow? We shouldn't be. It's easier said than done.
Absolutely.
But I always contend, keep saying it and it will get done.
Absolutely.
Keep
And
saying
and well, in some ways we know that when people, organizations, institutions, societies feel intentional about disempowering us, a group of people, that's why fear is such a useful tool, right? Because
that's exactly.
you get the human focused on tomorrow, which is going to be anxiety producing for all of us. So I think the other thing that has been super key for me is remembering I have personal agency.
That's right.
And I think election cycles every 4 years ideally should remind us of this. At the end of the day, there is nobody popping down with a cape who's going to save us all, even had our person won.
Absolutely.
And I think it's important to remember that the way that I move through the reality of my life and interact with my families and serve my purpose and give back to community and show up in a way that fuels my health and I get to feel good, is something that's actually independent of who's in the White House. I had a minister years ago who used to say, it does not matter who's in the White House. It matters who's in the right house.
That's right.
So I think it's such an invitation for people to get centered with whatever sacred text.
That's right.
Or, being out in nature. If science is more of your thing, people are going to have to look to their thing during
That's
this
right.
time. For some people that is art. We know we're going to go hop in a studio or on a stage and we're going to create. Now more than ever, it's important for us to remember we have these things that are empowering rather than being over-identified with an election that did not yield the results that we wanted, that makes us feel so disempowered. We have more agency than that.
We absolutely do.
And if these threats come to reality, that's fine, because we have to trust in, again, our own sense of capacity to respond.
That's
and
right.
That's one of the ways I've been able to, because anxiety and I are friends. And for me, it's always this reminder of I am capable. Every single thing, catastrophic even, that's happened in my life, even if I would have never bet I would have been able to confront and survive it, I did every single time.
How about that?
Right?
You know what? This central nervous thing, the central nervous system that you spoke of, I'm glad you brought that up, because I certainly want to. The central nervous system is on overload due to this election cycle. All of the hate, the vitriol, the bad words flinging on both sides. I'm thinking, what is this, kindergarten? And what an awful example for the children watching. I just pray that there are children watching who said, I'm going to do this and do this differently, that this is an example of what we will not become. And instead, though, I know that there are children watching saying, I'll never participate in that because of what it has become. And our central nervous systems, it's like scratching on a plastic coating. And the scratch, just like the drip of a drop of water on a rooftop, will eventually make a hole.
Yes.
That's our central nervous system is internal wiring. And all of the negative things scratching on those wires eventually gets exposed. And then the wires are exposed to everything. This is what people who are really sensitive, there's nothing wrong with their sensitivity except that their central nervous system is damaged and their adrenal system has been blown out.
Absolutely.
So here, let's do this exercise. Let's take a deep breath, everyone. Hold it. 1, 2, 3. Exhale through the teeth. Come on, one more time. Inhale, hold it. 1, 2, 3. Exhale through the teeth. Now that should feel good. If it did not feel good, that means that you have adrenal trouble.
Yeah.
And when I took my deep breaths on Wednesday afternoon, I could not feel the good. It did not feel good. I knew that I was headed for adrenal trouble. What did I do? I reached for my adrenal glands, my supplement, okay? And I sucked down adrenal supplements. I did. I had to, because my deep breath was not satisfying, nature. It did not scratch the surface, but the next day. Oh, and Juanita Irving here says, right, thank God all things are temporary. Indeed, Juanita.
Yes.
All things are temporary, because the next day, when I took my deep breath, after I had given myself all of the permissions, after I had chose to sit, after I chose to eliminate the negative things coming into my eyes, my ears, and my heart, I was able to recover.
See, I love that you are just so empowered with knowledge. And it's why I'm so grateful for platforms like yours, because I think that we have to empower more people with knowledge, so that, again, we don't feel that we are the effect of everything that is happening, that we can, again, use personal agency and be responsive rather than reactive. And it's like, okay, I'm going to need a lot of extra things right now. I had my bestie was just saying, honey, I just joined the gym. And I said, really? And she says, because I'm going to need everything I can to step into warrior mode. And I'm like, do what you need to do, because we all have to do that kind of inventory. Where am I? How impacted do I feel? And the adrenals, whether people even know that's what it is or not. But we all know that if you take a deep exhale, and that massage doesn't feel any better, that your system is asking for some more nurture, for some more. And I sucked those supplements down as well, and still had trouble really discharging the energy. And so what I've said to myself, it's an ongoing process. I mean, the reality is we're just a week out. We're just a week out. And so I think we get to give ourselves extra time. And, you hit on something that, I'm sure your audience will appreciate about these exhausted adrenals. And I know I keep bringing it back to this point, but so few platforms will talk about it this explicitly, but Black women in particular, we arrive to midlife and menopause already burned out. So those adrenals are struggling because we've already endured so much trauma, so much caretaking of everyone around us. And I don't think we're prepared for how those adrenals can just get so exhausted. And you basically feel like, not only do I not have any hope, I don't even feel like I have the will to get out of bed this morning. And I think that has to be contextualized in a way where people know, oh, this may be slow. I mean, Dr. LaJoyce, you guys, is a straight up doctor and has so much empowered information. So her capacity to snap back, this, LaJoyce, is going to be far more eloquent and informed because of who you are and what you know.
Girl, I fall apart on a regular basis and it's okay. All right. Even though I have my hand on a lot of tools, I can fall
Right.
apart with the
I
best.
know you can. I know
And
you can.
that's from being an empath.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all of us empaths, Lord have mercy. I just pray for us all because we're feeling more deeply and we have to guard more deeply. But I'm just saying, in this time,
Mhm.
I urge all of you to
Mhm.
guard more deeply
Absolutely.
and turn off the thing that is the culprit. All right? Find yourself someplace quiet. I don't know how these young people are actually honestly surviving. They're not taking any moments to be quiet intentionally,
Right.
unless it's forced quiet, unless you come into a classroom and the teacher goes, put that down.
Right.
But the constant scroll, their wrists should be almost worn out from the constant scroll that I don't understand how it will be fruitful. And I know a lot of adults who do the same thing. So let me not just say that I'm
Right.
talking about the
Right.
young adults, okay?
Mhm.
The youngins. I'm speaking to
Oh,
everyone who's addicted to devices,
right. I'm so glad
addicted to,
that. Oh,
yes,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and addicted to needing to stay in the know with the current news cycle. Here's what I have to say about that. If I really need to know something, I'll find out.
I am the exact same way. My mom is like, "You need to stay." I'm like, "No, I
No,
don't,
I
because I
don't.
know anything that's key, you're gonna tell me." I'm so glad you brought up the young people another time, though, because I meant to speak to that earlier, because I know so many young people, particularly young women, who matter so much to me. And I think we have a responsibility as the adults to
Mhm.
really be good shepherds here. We have to reflect what we hope they will take away. I think we have to remember, middle school all the way to young college, they have not seen nor experienced the amount of times we have been here and
Right.
had to contend with this is America.
Oh, yeah.
They are coming from a completely different era and space and mindset and have only learned everything through their devices. Like
Mhm.
life is digital for them.
Yes.
And so, I had some who this was their first time voting, and the
Oh, yes.
level of disappointment for
Oh,
them and how we continue to minister to them so that they believe it's, here's what it is, here's what you'll find out about yourself. And it does not mean that this allows you to not ever participate again.
please.
In fact,
Yes.
it's an opportunity for you to figure out who do I want to be in the world? How
That's
do
it.
I expect to show up? And you've got 4 years to think about it.
There you
How
go.
you want to utilize your gifts, your talents, understanding your purpose. I feel that disappointment always is an invitation to get much more in concert with purpose, because we
Yes.
exist for a reason, a very profound reason. And that does not change given the election. It does not
Yes.
change given the systemic racism in America. It doesn't
Yes.
change despite America being willing to contend with the truth of that reality.
That's right.
And so I think we have to call things what they are, because that's part of the digesting. When you're present for that meal, you know what's happening. When we need to metabolize emotionally, we have to also be honest. This is what it is.
That's right. This is what it is, and this is what it ain't.
Amen.
Let's call a thing a thing. It's tight, but it's right.
Mm,
Okay?
mm,
And
mm,
what we need to do, what I am hearing deeply, this is spirit work, you all. What I am hearing deeply and what I'm feeling is the necessity to dial back some things and then dial up certain things. Dial
mm.
up your savings. Work as much as you can and save as much as you can.
Mm,
Spend less.
absolutely.
However, prepare in case dark times are ahead. But we should always have a storehouse, period.
Exactly.
We are supposed to always be prepared in case of drought, in case of famine, in case
Yes.
of hard money times.
Yes.
We are supposed to be ready. Pray, plan, and pack.
Ooh,
We should always have a go bag.
like that. Mm.
Be passport ready. If you do want to leave, I'm going on a cruise in a couple of weeks. Okay.
Good for you.
I deserve it. I'm exhausted,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Emotionally. And I'm going to
Absolutely.
recharge.
Mm,
Make
absolutely.
book a spa day because, and I go to spa days once a month for sure,
Oh, wow. Wonderful.
because it's health prevention.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
my health prevention. And if healthcare tanks in this nation, then we need to make sure we're not getting sick. We need to make sure we stay in perfect health, which is what I've been attempting to teach
Absolutely.
for all of these years. Let's
Exactly.
stay in perfect health. And so we have to do some things for health prevention.
Absolutely. And LaJoyce, I would say to your audience, that is the beauty of what you have been educating us on for years. And I think this is a great moment for people to make sure they really dial into your body of work and other functional medicine, holistic and alternative,
Mhm.
because that also is an empowering health model, right?
Yes.
And so when people are over connected to this sense of traditional health and the regular health care and whether Obamacare, all of that, I want to be careful. Not that it keeps us in a victim state of mind, but it does rob us of agency because people will
Yes.
give more credit to
Depended.
what the insurance company is saying and some little regular doctor who just seeing you for 10 minutes. And I think when people get exposed to just the breadth of knowledge of, what someone like you teaches, for me, it is very reassuring because
Mm.
I then can remember, oh gosh, I have some agency
Yes.
over my health. So do
Yes.
what you will, because
That's
I know that once I understand this whole system and the
Mhm.
ways that I can be in concert with this system,
Yes.
then I'm going to be healthy anyway.
That's
I
right.
don't need the fear mongering of
Mhm.
what may be happening. So I love that. What is it? Pray, pack, and
Pray, plan, and pack.
pack. Yes, yes. And always stay aware of our capacity to be self-empowered.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
I also encourage everyone to really look at what it is you hold on to when things get hard.
Mm.
What are you reaching for when things get hard? That's the question. I want that to marinate. And if some of you are looking, drop that in the chat. What are
Mm.
you reaching for when times get hard? On what do you depend when times get
Mm.
hard? Where do you lean? On whom do you lean? And as we approach this holy season, I want to
Mm.
encourage all of you to give the gift of health. Instead of spending your money in stores, you can spend it. Be mindful of how you spend it. Are you giving something that could bring someone life, more
Mm.
life?
Yes.
That is the question.
Oh, I love that. We can get gift cards for spa days, for massages, for a yoga class. So many
Yes,
things. Yeah.
so many things that we can do. Nature, wrap it all up in a bow for us on where we need to, what is our posture moving forward?
Did you say posture?
Yes.
Mhm. I think our posture moving forward needs to be for the most empowering position to be in is acknowledging I am human.
Mm.
I need my fellow human beings, despite my awareness of all the ugliness in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I know there is light because I am light.
Yes.
And trusting that, because the light illuminates the path forward. And that's all we need to know. I don't think there's anything prescriptive for next week or next year. It's about tending to ourselves in the best way that we can today, and trusting. It's actually choosing to believe that there is still goodness and that the light always wins.
The light always wins. And I'm going to tell you something. I know there's goodness. I was in Staples and the cashier said, hey, you all can get a $20 gift card today if you spend $50. No one paid attention to her. Then she said it again. And then we kind of all looked at each other saying, oh, okay. And everybody kind of assessing what was in their hand. And I was the next person in line. And she said, but you got to download the Staples app. So she helped me. I helped the guy next behind me. He helped the guy next behind him. And I got a case of paper. And he said, I went to the gym today. Where's your car? He picked up that.
Really?
But after I admonished him for choosing, because he needed to $50, I chose the almonds. He chose gummy bears. I said, your dentist is going to be so mad at you. And he tried to give me another bag because I didn't. It wasn't equaling $50. But I said no, and they said give her the healthy one. And Staples. And I said, all of you, your dentist is going to be so mad because these men are choosing the gummy bears. But we had such a good laugh about it. I'm the only woman in the line, and I'm the only Black person. And he said, give me that box.
Let me take it for you.
And took it to my car, unsolicited. There's goodness still, y'all. And what we have to be careful is that we don't absorb the hate and be a reflection of it. Be careful what you're reflecting. Be very careful that we do not become hate mongers ourselves.
Amen.
And as long as we continue to carry that light, we will win, because I've looked to the end of the book and God's people do win.
Amen. And that's facts.
Facts. Nature, you are a joy. Thank you so much, as always, for answering the call. For all of you, we hope that this has been uplifting for you, and it was some solid solutions today. So we want to thank you. Thank you, Nature. Thank you to my team. Christopher Green, technical producer, IW supervising producer, Gene Ricks, composer. And remember to let your eyes shine, cut back on the wine, get good food fast, and go easy on the greasy. Until next time, I'm Dr. LaJoyce Brookshire, here to help you attain and maintain your perfect health. God bless you.